My brothers and sisters, when the Spirit of God is upon you, you are no longer ordinary. You don't walk like the world, think like the world, or act like the world. There is a fire inside of you that cannot be quenched. You are set apart, chosen, and empowered to walk in divine purpose. And when that spirit is alive in you, there are certain habits, certain ways of living that become undeniable. One, they walk in unshakable faith. A person filled with the Spirit does not move by sight but by faith. No matter what the world says, no matter what circumstances look like, they stand firm on the promises of God. When storms rise, they don't waver. When trials come, they don't retreat. They declare, "No weapon formed against me shall prosper." They believe in the impossible because they serve a God who makes all things possible. 2, they speak life, not death. Out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. A Spirit-filled person doesn't waste time complaining, gossiping, or tearing others down. Their words bring healing, restoration, and power. When they speak, chains break. When they declare, miracles happen, because they understand that life and death are in the power of the tongue. They have a heart of worship. A person with the Spirit doesn't just praise when things are good. They praise at all time. Whether in the valley or on the mountaintop, their heart overflows with gratitude. They don't need music to worship. They don't need a stage to praise. Their life is the worship, because they know that worship is a weapon, and when they praise, strongholds fall. 4, they walk in boldness and authority. A Spirit-filled person does not bow to fear. They don't shrink back when challenges come. They move in divine authority. They lay hands on the sick and healing comes. They speak to the mountains and they move. They rebuke the enemy and he flees, because they know who they are and whose they are. They don't walk timidly. They walk in dominion. They love with the love of God. Hatred, bitterness, and unforgiveness have no place in a Spirit-filled life. They love even when it's hard. They forgive even when it hurts, because they are not moved by emotions. They are moved by the Spirit. The world will know them not by their words, not by their knowledge, but by their love. They hunger for righteousness. A person filled with the Spirit is not satisfied with the things of this world. Money doesn't fulfill them. Status doesn't impress them. They hunger for righteousness. They thirst for holiness. They seek the presence of God above all else. And because they seek, they find. Because they knock, the doors open. Because they hunger, they are filled. This is the life of a person filled with the Spirit. A life of power, a life of victory, a life that shakes the kingdom of darkness. Do you have these habits? If not, today is the day to start. Surrender, walk in faith, speak life, love deeply, and seek Him with everything in you, and watch how your life transforms. Faith over fear is not just a phrase, it is a command, a way of life, and a mindset that separates the ordinary from the extraordinary. It is the foundation upon which the strongest warriors of God stand. The very thing that allows a person to walk through fire and not be burned, to step into the lion's den and not be devoured, to stand before giants and not tremble. Faith is the fuel that moves mountains, but fear is the weight that keeps people bound. When a person is filled with the Spirit, fear has no place, because faith takes over. Faith silences the lies of the enemy. Faith drowns out the noise of doubt, and faith refuses to bow to circumstances. Faith does not waver when storms rise. It does not shrink back when the enemy roars, and it does not hesitate when God says, "Move." A person with the Spirit walks with a confidence that cannot be shaken, because their trust is not in what they see, but in the one who goes before them. The world is filled with fear. Fear of the unknown, fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of loss. Everywhere you turn, fear is gripping people's hearts, controlling their decisions, dictating their futures. But the person with the Spirit does not live like the world. They do not let fear make their choices. They do not allow fear to keep them from stepping into their purpose. When the Spirit is alive in a person, they move differently. They step out in boldness when others hesitate. They take risks when others retreat. They speak with authority when others stay silent, because they know that fear is a liar. Fear is an illusion. Fear is the enemy's greatest weapon to keep people from stepping into their destiny. Fear will whisper, "What if you fail?" But faith shouts, "What if you succeed?" Fear will say, "You're not strong enough." But faith declares, "Greater is He that is in me." Fear will remind you of your past, your weaknesses, your limitations. But faith reminds you that God has already made a way where there seems to be no way. A person with faith is dangerous. They are unstoppable. They are a force that cannot be contained because faith is what moves heaven. Faith is what activates the supernatural. Faith is what turns the impossible into reality. When a person walks by faith, they are no longer controlled by fear of the future because they know their future is already secured. They do not fear lack because they know provision is coming. They do not fear sickness because they know healing is their portion. They do not fear defeat because they know victory is already written. Faith does not need to see the whole picture to move. Faith does not need every question answered. Faith does not wait for perfect conditions. Faith moves because it trusts the one who is leading. Look at the great warriors of the Bible. Did they move in fear? Did they wait for perfect conditions? Did they shrink back when the odds were against them? No. They walked by faith. They stepped out even when it didn't make sense. Noah built an ark when there was no sign of rain. Abraham left his home without knowing where he was going. David ran toward Goliath when everyone else hid. The walls of Jericho fell, not because of weapons, but because of faith. The Red Sea parted, not because of human strength, but because of faith. Faith is what brings the victory. Faith is what defeats the giants. Faith is what unlocks the miraculous. Fear would have kept them still, but faith pushed them forward. A person with the Spirit knows that fear is a distraction. Fear is meant to delay, to discourage, to destroy. But faith is the weapon that cuts through fear. Faith is what allows a person to walk on water when everything around them says they should sink. Faith is what gives a person the courage to stand when the whole world bows. Faith is what empowers a person to believe when everything around them screams doubt. Fear will always try to creep in, but when faith is strong, fear has no power. It may whisper, but it will not be heard. It may try to rise, but it will not stand. Because faith is louder. Faith is stronger. Faith is the key to victory. When a person chooses faith over fear, they step into a supernatural way of living. They stop waiting for signs and start trusting in the promise. They stop hesitating and start walking. They stop letting doubt dictate their actions and start moving in obedience. Fear says, "What if you lose?" But faith says, "I have already won." Fear says, "What if it doesn't work?" But faith says, "God never fails." Fear says, "You are not qualified." But faith says, "God equips the called." The difference between those who live in victory and those who live in defeat is not their talent, not their strength, not their background. It is their faith. A person filled with the Spirit does not ask, "What if I fail?" They declare, "I cannot fail because God is with me." They do not wait for all the pieces to come together before they take a step. They move forward because they trust that God is directing their path. They do not let fear of people's opinions hold them back. They do not let fear of the unknown keep them in bondage. They know that the enemy thrives in fear, but he is defeated by faith. Fear may come knocking, but they refuse to open the door. Fear may try to whisper lies, but they silence it with the word of God. Fear may try to stand in the way, but they walk right through it because their faith is greater than their fear. Fear keeps people trapped. Fear keeps people small. Fear keeps people stuck in cycles of doubt, hesitation, and inaction. But faith breaks chains. Faith opens doors. Faith releases miracles. Faith is the difference between stepping into destiny and staying in the wilderness. A person with the Spirit understands this, so they refuse to bow to fear. They do not let fear paralyze them. They do not let fear steal their joy, their calling, their future. They stand firm in the promises of God, and they move boldly into everything He has for them. When fear says, "You are alone," faith declares, "I will never leave you nor forsake you." When fear says, "This is impossible," faith declares, "With God all things are possible." When fear says, "You are too weak," faith declares, "His strength is made perfect in my weakness." When fear says, "It's too late," faith declares, "God's timing is perfect." A person with the Spirit chooses to believe the voice of truth, not the voice of fear. They know that fear is temporary, but faith is eternal. They know that fear is a lie, but faith is the truth. They know that fear keeps people bound, but faith sets people free. Faith is not a feeling, it is not an emotion, it is a choice. A choice to trust, a choice to believe, a choice to step out even when the ground looks unsteady, a choice to declare victory even when the battle is still raging, a choice to believe in the promise even when there is no evidence yet. A person with the Spirit makes this choice daily. They wake up and choose faith. They face challenges and choose faith. They walk into the unknown and choose faith. They refuse to let fear dictate their lives because they know that fear is not from God. They know that fear is a tool of the enemy and they refuse to give it power. A life led by fear is a life of limitation. A life led by faith is a life of power. A life led by fear is a life of power. A life led by faith is a life of miracles. A life led by fear is a life of defeat. A life led by faith is a life of victory. The choice is clear. The choice is simple. Walk by faith, not by fear. Believe in the impossible. Trust in the unseen. Step into the unknown with confidence, knowing that the one who holds the universe is the one who holds your future. Faith is the key. Faith is the answer. Faith is the way forward. Choose faith every single time. Words are not just sounds. They are not just letters put together. Words carry power. Words create, words destroy, words build, and words tear down. A person filled with the Spirit understands this. They know that words are not to be used carelessly because every word spoken releases something into the atmosphere. Life and death are in the power of the tongue, and those who love it will eat its fruit. This means that what you speak, you will see. This means that what you speak, you will see. What you declare, you will walk into. What you release with your mouth will shape your reality. The world teaches people to speak based on how they feel. If they feel weak, they say they are weak. If they feel afraid, they say they are afraid. If they feel like nothing is working, they say nothing is working. But a person with the Spirit does not live by feelings, they live by faith. They do not speak what they feel, they speak what they believe. They do not declare what they see, they declare what they know God has promised. They do not agree with the enemy's lies, they agree with the truth of God's word. When the world says, "You are a failure," they declare, "I am more than a conqueror." When fear whispers, "You are alone," they speak, "God is with me and He will never leave me." When the enemy tries to plant doubt, they declare, "No weapon formed against me shall prosper," because they know that words have the power to shift the atmosphere. Words can bring healing or destruction. Words can open doors or close them. Words can unlock blessings or block them. A person with the Spirit does not speak carelessly. They guard their mouth because they know that their words are seeds. Every word planted will bring a harvest. If they speak words of defeat, they will walk in defeat. If they speak words of doubt, they will live in doubt. But if they speak words of faith, they will see mountains move. If they declare victory, they will walk in victory. If they speak life, they will see life flourish in every area. The enemy wants people to use their own words against themselves. He wants them to say, "I will never succeed," so that failure follows them. He wants them to say, "I am not good enough," so that insecurity cripples them. He wants them to say, "I am too broken," so that healing never comes. But a person filled with the Spirit understands that their words must align with the promises of God. The greatest battles are not won with weapons, they are won with words. When David faced Goliath, he did not just fight with a slingshot, he fought with his words. Before he ever threw a stone, he declared, "This day the Lord will deliver you into my hands." He spoke his victory before it happened. He released the words into the atmosphere and the battle was won before it even began. The same is true today. A person with the Spirit does not wait until they see a breakthrough to speak it. They declare it in faith, and then they see it manifest. They do not wait for circumstances to change before they speak life. They speak life, and then circumstances change. They do not wait until the battle is over to declare victory. They declare victory, and the battle bows to their words. Words can either be a weapon in the hands of the enemy or a weapon in the hands of the righteous. The enemy knows the power of words, which is why he tries to control what people say. He knows that if he can get a person to speak negatively, to complain, to doubt, to fear, then he can keep them bound. But a person with the Spirit does not give the enemy that access. They use their words as a weapon of warfare. When they wake up, they declare, "This is the day the Lord has made, and I will rejoice." When they face challenges, they declare, "I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me." When the enemy tries to bring discouragement, they declare, "I am the head and not the tail, above and not beneath." Their words are their sword, and they use it to cut through every attack. A person with the Spirit also understands that words do not just affect them, they affect everyone around them. They know that what they speak over their family, over their children, over their future, carries weight. They do not speak words of fear over their home. They do not say, "Nothing ever works out for me," because they know that those words shape their destiny. They do not say, "I will always struggle," because they know that those words set a course for their life. Instead, they declare, "God is my provider and I will lack nothing." They declare, "My family is blessed, my children are protected, my future is secured." They release words of blessing and they see blessings follow them. Many people pray for miracles but then cancel their own prayers with their words. They ask God for healing but then they speak sickness over themselves. They pray for financial breakthrough but then they speak lack over their lives. They ask God for open doors but then they declare, "I don't think this will ever happen for me." A person with the Spirit knows that their words must be in agreement with their prayers. They do not just pray for breakthrough, they speak breakthrough. They do not just ask for favor, they declare that favor surrounds them. They do not just hope for a better future, they declare that their future is in God's hands and it is blessed. Their words match their faith, and because of that, they see results. The enemy wants to keep people trapped in a cycle of negativity. He wants them to complain, to murmur, to speak words of doubt, because he knows that words are the keys that open or close doors in the spiritual realm. But a person with the Spirit refuses to fall into that trap. They do not waste words on complaining. They do not waste words on fear. They do not waste words on gossip, on bitterness, on speaking death. They use their words wisely. They know that every word is a seed, and they choose to plant seeds of faith, of life, of blessing. A person with the Spirit understands that words carry authority. When they speak, things shift. When they declare, doors open. When they command, the enemy flees. Their words are not empty. They are filled with power. They know that just as God spoke the world into existence, their words have the power to create. If they want to see peace, they speak peace. If they want to see transformation, they speak victory. If they want to see transformation, they speak transformation. They do not wait for things to change before they change their words. They change their words, and then they see things change. Words create the atmosphere in which a person lives. A person who constantly speaks defeat will live in defeat. A person who constantly speaks doubt will live in doubt. But a person who speaks faith, who speaks victory, who speaks life, will see those very things manifest. A person with the Spirit guards their words because they know that what they speak today will shape their tomorrow. They do not allow careless words to come out of their mouth. They do not speak based on temporary feelings. They speak based on eternal truth. Words are powerful. Words are spiritual. Words are the difference between walking in bondage and walking in freedom. A person with the Spirit understands this, so they do not speak what the world speaks. They do not declare what the enemy wants them to declare. They speak the word of God, and because of that they see His promises fulfilled in their life. They use their words as weapons, as keys, as seeds, knowing that every word spoken carries weight. They do not take their words lightly. They speak life. they speak faith, they speak victory, and because of that they walk in power. Boldness and authority are not optional for a person filled with the Spirit. They are not qualities that only a few chosen ones possess. They are the natural byproducts of walking in alignment with divine purpose. When the Spirit takes hold of a person, fear loses its grip, hesitation disappears, and timidity is replaced with unshakable confidence. A person with the Spirit does not bow to pressure, does not shrink back in the face of opposition, and does not allow circumstances to dictate their actions. They understand that they have been given power, not to cower but to conquer. They do not live in constant fear of what might happen because they know who is in control. They do not second-guess their steps because they know their steps are ordered. They do not allow the opinions of others to define them because they have already been called, chosen, and equipped. A person filled with the Spirit walks into a room and the atmosphere shifts. They do not have to announce their authority. It is evident in the way they carry themselves. Their presence alone disrupts darkness. Their words carry weight. Their actions are marked by divine purpose. The enemy does not fear those who merely speak of boldness. He fears those who walk in it. He fears those who understand who they are and refuse to be intimidated. He fears those who are not moved by emotions but are led by conviction. He fears those who do not wait for permission to step into their calling because they know they have already been sent. Boldness is not arrogance. It is confidence in the one who has sent you. It is an unshakable knowing that you are backed by the highest authority. It is stepping into places others avoid. It is speaking truth when others remain silent. It is taking action when others hesitate. A person with the Spirit does not wait for the perfect conditions to act. They move because they know that obedience does not require perfect conditions. When God says go, they go. When God says speak, they speak. When God says stand, they stand. They are not concerned with how things look in the natural because they operate in the supernatural. They do not measure obstacles by human standards because they know that nothing is impossible. A person with the Spirit carries authority. They do not beg for it. They do not have to chase it. They do not need titles or recognition to validate it. Their authority comes from above, and no man can take it away. They know that when they walk into a situation, they do not walk alone. When they speak, it is not their voice that carries the power, it is the power of the one who sent them. They do not need the approval of man because they have already been approved by God. They do not seek validation because they are already validated by the one who created them. They do not fear rejection because they know they have already been chosen. The world will always try to silence bold voices. It will always try to intimidate those who walk in authority. It will always try to make them doubt, to make them question, to make them second-guess what they have been called to do. But a person with the Spirit does not back down in the face of resistance. They do not compromise when pressured. They do not water down truth to make people comfortable. They do not adjust their convictions to fit in. They stand firm no matter the cost. They speak with clarity no matter the opposition. They act with courage no matter the consequences. A person with the Spirit does not allow fear to paralyze them. They do not hesitate when faced with challenges. They do not retreat when things get difficult. They know that boldness is not the absence of fear. It is moving forward despite fear. It is taking action when the enemy wants you to freeze. It is speaking up when the world wants you to stay silent. It is advancing when everything around you says to stop. Boldness is looking at impossible situations and knowing that they are not impossible for the one who goes before you. Boldness is standing your ground when everything inside of you wants to run. Boldness is saying yes when obedience is difficult. Boldness is trusting the process even when the outcome is uncertain. Authority is not something a person earns. It is something that is given. A person with the Spirit does not have to prove themselves because their authority has already been established. They do not need external validation to walk in power. They do not need applause to know they are doing the right thing. They move with confidence, knowing that their authority comes from above. The enemy does not fear those who merely have knowledge. He fears those who operate in authority. He fears those who understand that they have the power to trample over every plan he tries to set in motion. He fears those who recognize that their words carry the power to break chains. He fears those who refuse to be intimidated. A person with the Spirit does not waste time worrying about what others think. They are not concerned with fitting into man-made molds. They are not preoccupied with pleasing people. They are on assignment, and nothing will stop them. They know that their time is valuable, their mission is urgent, and their authority is undeniable. They do not let distractions pull them away from their purpose. They do not allow opposition to discourage them. They do not let temporary struggles shake their confidence. They understand that authority is not just about speaking boldly, it is about living boldly. It is about walking in obedience when others walk away. It is about holding on to faith when others let go. It is about trusting in the unseen when everything visible says to give up. A person with the Spirit does not allow fear of failure to hold them back. They do not waste time thinking about what could go wrong. They step forward, knowing that even if they stumble, they are never alone. They do not fear making mistakes because they know that God orders their steps. They do not hesitate to take risks because they know that faith requires action. They are not controlled by doubt because they know that doubt is the enemy of destiny. They do not live their lives on the sidelines. They step onto the battlefield with confidence. The enemy wants to silence those who walk in boldness and authority. He wants to make them question themselves. He wants to fill their minds with insecurity. He wants to distract them with comparison. But a person with the Spirit is not moved by these tactics. They recognize that their authority does not come from man, but from God. They do not let doubt take root. They do not entertain thoughts of insecurity. They do not allow fear to dictate their choices. They move with purpose. They speak with confidence. They act with conviction. A person with the Spirit understands that they are a threat to darkness. They do not apologize for walking in power. They do not hide their light to make others comfortable. They do not downplay their authority to fit in. They embrace the calling on their life. They rise to the occasion. They step into places others fear to go. They speak when others remain silent. They do what others hesitate to do. They move in boldness because they know they have been given a spirit of power, not of fear. There is no room for hesitation in the life of a person filled with the Spirit. There is no room for doubt. There is no room for compromise. They know that boldness is required to fulfill their assignment. They know that authority must be exercised, not just possessed. They know that they have been given everything they need to walk in power. They do not wait for someone else to take action. They do not wait for the perfect moment to step out. They do not wait for a guarantee before they move forward. They know that their authority is already established. Their boldness is already within them. Their victory is already secured. A person with the Spirit does not just speak boldly, they live boldly. They do not just have authority, they use it. They do not just know the truth, they declare it. They are not spectators, they are warriors. They are not passive, they are active. They are not hesitant, they are decisive. They are not weak, they are strong. They are not intimidated, they are fearless. They do not wait, they move. They do not waver, they stand. They do not retreat, they advance. They do not doubt, they believe. They do not walk in their own strength, they walk in power. They do not operate in their own wisdom, they operate in divine authority. They do not settle, they conquer. They do not shrink back, they rise. They do not ask for permission, they take dominion. They do not fear the battle, they are the battle. There is something different about a person who has a hunger for holiness. They are not satisfied with the surface. They are not content with just going through the motions. They do not want a watered-down version of faith, a convenient form of righteousness, or a comfortable walk with God. They want the real thing. They want to be set apart. They want to walk in purity. They want to live in such a way that everything about them reflects the light of truth. A person with a hunger for holiness is not moved by the distractions of this world. They are not enticed by temporary pleasures. They are not drawn to the things that pull others away from the path of righteousness. They live with a deep awareness that they have been called to something higher, something greater, something that requires them to separate themselves from the things that contaminate their soul. Holiness is not an option, it is a requirement. A person who truly desires to walk in the fullness of their calling understands that holiness is the standard. It is not just about what they do, it is about who they are becoming. It is not just about avoiding sin, it is about pursuing righteousness. They do not just resist darkness, they chase after the light. They do not just refrain from what is wrong, they embrace what is. Holiness is not just about saying no to the world, it is about saying yes to God. It is about surrendering completely, holding nothing back, and being willing to lay down anything that hinders their walk. A person with a hunger for holiness does not live a life of compromise. They do not try to walk the line between righteousness and worldliness. They do not see how close they can get to sin without falling into it. They are not looking for loopholes. They are not searching for excuses. They are not trying to justify behaviors that they know are not pleasing to God. They are fully committed, fully surrendered, fully sold out. Their desire is not just to avoid sin, it is to be so consumed with the presence of God that sin has no place in their life. They do not settle for partial obedience because they know that partial obedience is still disobedience. They do not look at holiness as a burden but as a privilege. They do not view it as something restrictive but as something that brings freedom. Holiness is not just about actions, it is about the condition of the heart. A person who hungers for holiness understands that transformation starts from the inside out. They do not just clean the outside of the cup while leaving the inside filthy. They do not just focus on appearances while neglecting the state of their soul. They allow the refining fire of truth to burn away every impurity. They invite conviction rather than run from it. They embrace correction rather than resist it. They do not see conviction as condemnation, they see it as grace. They know that when God exposes something in them that needs to change, it is because He loves them too much to leave them the way they are. A person with a hunger for holiness is not swayed by the standards of the world. They do not live by the opinions of people. They are not influenced by culture. They are not moved by trends. They do not compromise their values to fit in. They do not adjust their convictions to be accepted. They are not interested in blending in. They are called to stand out. They do not let the world define what is right and wrong because they know that truth does not change. They do not allow society to dictate morality because they know that holiness is not a matter of personal preference, it is a command. They do not shape their beliefs to match what is popular because they know that what is popular is often what leads people away from the path of righteousness. A person with a hunger for holiness guards their heart. They do not entertain things that corrupt their spirit. They do not allow bitterness, envy, or unforgiveness to take root. They do not engage in gossip, slander, or negativity. They protect what they watch, what they listen to, what they allow into their mind. They understand that whatever they feed will grow, and they refuse to feed anything that weakens their spirit. They do not compromise with darkness. They do not make room for sin. They do not justify what they know is wrong. They do not flirt with temptation. They do not entertain what will lead them away from the presence of God. They set their mind on things above. They pursue purity with passion. They chase after righteousness with everything in them. A person with a hunger for holiness is not afraid to be different. They are not afraid to be misunderstood. They are not afraid to be set apart. They do not need the approval of man because they live for the approval of God. They do not need validation from people because they know they have already been chosen. They do not need to fit in because they were never meant to. They are in this world but not of it. They walk a different path. They live by a different standard. They operate on a different frequency. Their hunger for holiness sets them apart. Their desire to please God makes them stand out. Their pursuit of righteousness makes them unshakable. A person with a hunger for holiness does not just seek God in public, they seek Him in private. They do not just put on a show of righteousness for others to see, they live it when no one is watching. They do not just say the right things, they live the right way. Their hunger for holiness is not about appearance, it is about authenticity. They do not just go through the motions of faith, they have a real, living, breathing relationship with God. They do not just seek His hand, they seek His heart. They do not just want His blessings, they want His presence. They do not just ask for more things, they ask for more of Him. Holiness requires discipline. A person who truly hungers for holiness understands that they cannot live however they want and still expect to walk in power. They cannot fill their mind with garbage and still expect to hear clearly from God. They cannot surround themselves with compromise and still expect to live in purity. They take their walk seriously. They do not play games with their faith. They do not take sin lightly. They understand that holiness is a daily pursuit, a daily decision, a daily sacrifice. They wake up every day with the mindset that they are in a battle, not against people, but against anything that tries to pull them away from God. They fight against complacency. They fight against distraction. They fight against anything that threatens to dull their hunger. A person with a hunger for holiness does not look back. They do not dwell on who they used to be. They do not entertain thoughts of returning to old ways. They do not allow past struggles to define them. They press forward. They keep moving. They keep growing. They keep striving for greater levels of purity, greater levels of righteousness, greater levels of surrender. They are not satisfied with yesterday's growth. They want more today. They do not settle for what they have already achieved. They push for deeper intimacy, greater revelation, more transformation. The enemy fears a person who is truly hungry for holiness. He knows that a person who walks in holiness walks in power. He knows that a person who is set apart cannot be easily deceived. He knows that a person who is completely surrendered is unstoppable. That is why he tries to distract. That is why he tries to discourage. That is why he tries to tempt, to delay, to plant seeds of doubt. But a person with a hunger for holiness does not give the enemy access. They stay focused. They stay vigilant. They stay in the presence of God. Holiness is not just about what a person avoids. It is about what they pursue. It is about chasing after God with everything in them. It is about living a life that reflects His nature. It is about being so consumed with His presence that nothing else satisfies. A person with a hunger for holiness understands that they were created for more than this world has to offer. They know that they were called to walk in power, to walk in purity, to walk in purpose. They refuse to settle for anything less. They refuse to be lukewarm. They refuse to be half-hearted. They refuse to compromise. They are all in, fully surrendered, fully committed, fully consumed with the desire to be holy,